Hi Stampers, it's Linda Schmitt with Stampin' with the Houndz. Continuing on with my Fun Fold series for the month of May 2024, I am doing variations of the Gatefold. So if you checked out my tutorial from last week, I had done a Gatefold that was called a Pop-Out Gatefold. So that one, you're just taking cardstock, and the way you cut it, then when you open it, sorry, get that out of the way there, it pops up, which is kind of fun. And then this is one that you can decorate the front and the back, and then it's a nice 3D card that does mail flat. So be sure you check that one out. Like I said, that was called the Pop-Out Gatefold, and so that one I had done. This is with that online only set, Feathered Friends, and then some new designer series paper that we have in the new 2024-25 annual catalog from Stampin' Up. And then this one uses another online set. This was that Simply Xenia, and then some of our new designer series paper and new in colors. So this is another one where when you open it up, it kind of just pops up, and then it's a nice one that stands up on display. So that's that. So make sure you check those out. I'll put a link to that tutorial in the description below. So continuing on with the Gatefold, today we're going to do variations on the double Gatefold. And on this one, I'm going to show you 4 different ways to do it. So the first one is what I would call just the standard double Gatefold. And these are all going to be using designer series paper as the base. So on this one, I am using the new Weathered Wood designer series paper that is in the annual catalog. And then this is the Feathered Friends, which is an exclusive online stamp set that you can get from Stampin' Up. So that's that one. It's just it's beautiful detailed, and you don't really have to do much. You don't have to watercolor because it does all the work for you. And then I'm also going to be using a little bit of the Encircled in Nature, which is another online exclusive. And then a little bit of the Quiet Reflections today. This is a carryover, so it's still in the annual catalog. And I think that was it for my stamp sets for today. So, like I said, this is what I call the double Gatefold. So again, you open it up, and it's just a half a sheet of designer series paper. And then it's a great way of showing off both sides of your paper. And it's another one that can stand up on display. So super easy. So we'll do a variation of this one today. So that's the double Gatefold. Then taking that same concept, now we're going to make it into a diamond. And on this one, we're cutting off a piece. We're kind of cutting at an angle, those top 2 corners, and then we glue them down to the opposite sides on the panels. So this is another way of doing the Gatefold. I'm calling this one the diamond Gatefold. So again, this is using that Feathered Friends, and then this is the new, excuse me, Thoughtful, all these new papers, I have to remember what they're called. Yes, Thoughtful Journey. And this one is beautiful, watercolored, just nice background scenery with a lot of our in colors and some of our standard colors too. So it's just a beautiful, and it kind of does all the seasons too, which is nice. So I'm using quite a bit of that today as well. And that's 6x6. And then this is the Country Lace new designer series paper. And then there's that Thoughtful Journey paper for that one. So I kind of use that as, instead of stamping, I use my paper as my background and then just stamped. And then again, this one, I just did some cardstock in the center and embossed it with the new folder. Oh gosh, what is this one called? I think it's Eyelet. Yes, this is a new embossing folder. Has that little eyelet designs. It's a 3D one. So that's new. All right, so that's the diamond one. So it's another fun way of doing it. And then the next one, I'm calling it kind of like a zigzag Gatefold. And there's 2 different ways to do this one. And it all depends on your cut, how far down you measure and cut off these top pieces and glue them down. So this one is what I would call the first one, the zigzag. You see quite a bit of this one where it just looks like it's the 2 triangles. So again, this is that Weathered Wood designer series paper. And then I did the Feathered Friends. And this one, oh yeah, I did gray granite for my cardstock on the inside. And the reason why this is here, I stamped so crooked, so I wound up cutting out a deckled circle, and then I glued it over it. So you can always fix your mistakes when you're stamping. All right, so there's that one. That's the one version of the zigzag. And then this other one is another version of it where I didn't cut down as far, and then you're gluing those pieces that you cut off on those front panels. So that's another version of the zigzag. And this is that Country Lace Designer Series paper. And then again, the Feathered Friends. And here, like I said, I had stamped the Thinking of You here, and I stamped it crooked. So I wound up grabbing a piece of scratch paper or scratch cardstock, and then I just used one of my retired triangle dies to cut it out. So like I said, you could always fix your mistakes. Even the demonstrator makes boo-boos once in a while. So we're going to get started. We're going to start with the double gatefold, which is the easiest one, I would say, and because there's no cutting, it's just folding. So this one, you are going to need a 5.5 by, I have to make sure that's right. 5.5. Yes, this is the only one that's different. All the rest of them are going to be 5.5 by 12. This one you do need to cut off 1 inch off the end. So it's 5.5 by 11. And then the scoring, I know, difficult scoring, but you can do it. So it's 1 1/4, 3 3/8, 7 5/8, and then 9 3/4. And then these come in as a valley. And then these come back as your mountain folds to make that little flap. So that's all there is. And then the centerpiece for the, just to give it some stability, you'll put your cardstock in, and that is, actually, is that the right? Yeah, that is. So that'll be 4 by 5 1/4, the cardstock that you just lay right there. And then if you want to decorate these panels on the inside with either cardstock or another piece of Designer Series paper, you can if you wanted to, but there's really no need to. So that's it, and it's a standard A2 folds up flat. So we're going to do this one first. And I'm going to be using my, like I said, we're going to be doing the duck, the Feathered Friends, and then we're going to use this weathered wood Designer Series paper. So let's get our pieces out. So again, like I said, you're going to need that Designer Series paper. That's 5.5 by 11. So depending on your pattern's paper, pay attention to the pattern. Like this is a wood grain, so I wanted my wood grain going up and down. So I cut my cardstock, going this way so that I would have my half a sheet, the wood grain, going up and down. Okay, so you'll need that. And then, like I said, your inside cardstock is 4 by 5 1/4. I wound up, because I wanted to give this a little bit more color on the inside, I did the 2 largest dies from the Deckled Rectangle. So I did these 2. And so this one ends up, when you cut it down, it gets to be a little bit smaller than 4 by 5 1/4. And then this is like, 3 3/4 by 5, and then it gets to be a little bit smaller once you do that. And then that will be layered on the inside for that. And then you will also need whatever you want for your focal point. I'm going to be using that Encircled in Nature. And I've got all my pieces. So I have a piece already die cut, but I'm going to show you how I die cut it. And then, so this is just a piece of 4 by 4 crumb cake cardstock that I'm going to stamp my wreath on, and then I'll die cut it. And then these were left over. So remember we cut off that inch? I'm using those pieces to decorate my inside. And then I just have some other die cut pieces to use for that. But we're going to score first. So we will, I'm going to zoom out just a titch here so you can kind of see. Let's see, so I want this to be my inside. Yeah, so I want this to be my inside. So I'm going to score on that side. And we're going to start, we're going to do Actually, you know what? Because this is the wonky measuring, I'm using my other one. So I don't have to count my hash marks. I'm cheating. We'll do my other score thing. So I don't have to overthink. Okay. All right. So we are going to. This is why I have multiple paper trimmers and scoring tools. All right. So we're going to do 1 1/4 is our first one. So we'll do 1 1/4. And then we're going to do 3 3/8. So 3 3/8. So that's that 1, 2, 3. It's a little third hash mark over. Then you're going to do 7 5/8. And that'll be here. And then you're going to do 9 3/4 on that. So again, those are those measurements. 1 1/4, 3 3/8, 7 5/8, and 9 3/4. And this is that 5.5 by 11 for your designer series paper. All right, so then we're going to grab my bone folder. So on these, so you've got one score line here, which is kind of the smaller one, or the more narrow. So I'm going to go to the second score line, and I'm going to make that a valley fold. And then the shorter one, I'm folding back. So there's one side. And then again, I'm going to take that second score line, and I'm going to bring it in. And then the narrower score line makes your flap. And then that is the double gatefold. So you've got, this is what they call the double. So you've got, you know, the 1, and then here's your 2. So that's it for the fold. I mean, super easy. I love it. I love simple, fun folds. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's just start assembling some of this. I'm gonna move out just a little bit. All right, so on our inside, do some stamping. So I'm going to get out, because on this one I did the quiet reflections on the inside, so we're going to stamp that in crumb cake, and that's going to be on crumb cake. So I'm doing tone on tone, and I think I need to get the stamp out. So on this set, I will say, this one I kind of struggled, I'll be honest, I kind of struggled a little bit with it, because if your ink pads are super, especially if they're the new Stampin' Up! Ones, which are the foam based, if they're too juicy, this image does not ink up very well at all. Oh, I was like getting so frustrated. So, but what I did is I wound up taking a, you can either do, if I got it handy here, I just took a piece of cardstock, but you can take like a credit card or something. And what I did, especially on those new, here, what I should do, I know it's this one. This one's pretty juicy. So this is our new basic beige. So again, there's that foam, and I've already scraped this one, but we'll see. But what I did is I just very gently took a piece of cardstock, and see all that extra ink. I'm just picking up some of that excess ink so that it's not so goopy when I stamp my image. So I'll kind of show you. And then I'm not going to press super hard either. And then see how it kind of, see how it's super, super wet? I just want to make sure that's all inked up. So like I said, this is the basic beige, which is the one. Okay, I just want to make sure I got rid of that line. And I'm just going to grab some scratch paper here. Let's grab some. And then I did find if I had a little bit of a cushion underneath, And then I just kind of sat here, let it dry just a little bit. So this stamp goes, this is the top, and then this is the bottom. And then I didn't press super hard because I found the more I pressed hard, so this one still, to me, is still a little goopy compared to my other samples that I did with this set. So like here, you can see there's a lot more detail. Well, this one's got a little blurry, but yeah, that bottom one, it doesn't ink up as well as the top part. So you kind of have to play around with a little bit. So again, I would just put like a sentiment here to kind of cut that off or to cover it up. So, but again, I found that if you're, for once, if you have ink pads that are not juicy, this stamp, it probably is going to work a lot better. So I'm going to go back. This is now my crumb cake, which I know this crumb cake one works a lot better. All right, so this is just going to be a subtle background. Make sure I'm going the right way. My trees are going the right way on it. Yeah, so see, this one does a lot better. So you can see the trees in the reflection. So that one, you just have to kind of play around with your stamp pads to see which ones work best for this set. And especially if you have the fabric, the old style ink pads from Stampin' Up, those are going to work really good with these types of detailed stamps. So I'm going to take from the Encircled in Nature stamp set. I'm just using this sentiment here, and I'm going to ink this up in Mossy Meadow, and this is just going to go right on top like that. Clean this because I need my blocks for another stamp. Okay, and then that's it for that. And then this can just be attached onto my Mossy Meadow, the other deckled rectangle piece of cardstock, and then this will go on the inside. Yeah, so I'm kind of doing a little bit more masculine, kind of more neutral colored stamping today. Always needs the guy cards. I think those are always the hardest ones sometimes to make. So, all right, we're just gonna get all of our pieces out. And let's see here. Oh, I need a bigger desk. All right, so this can go on the inside of the card. And then these pieces that, like I said, because this was a 5.5 by 11, that 1-inch strip that I cut off, I'm just going to glue these on this middle panel, because I have them. Might as well use them up. And this is totally optional. You don't have to do it, but I just figured, well, I've got my scraps. I'm just going to, I just got to find the middle part of it there. So it's in between these score lines, give or take. Just kind of find the middle of that. There's one, there's two. And then I just had die cut from the Encircled in Nature. I stamped in Mossy Meadow on Old Olive, and then I die cut them. So I'm just going to glue these in just to continue my tree theme. And then we will stamp and decorate the front. And I'll show you how to do the Feathered Friends, getting the multicolored stamping or ink colors using your markers and your ink pads. So that's the inside. All right, so now for we're going to do this part now. So I just have a piece of my crumb cake, and this is 4x4. And we are going to use the wreath from Encircled in Nature. And I need my espresso ink pad. And on this stamp, so this is the Encircled in Nature, there is, so this little opening is going to be, I'll show you on the block. This is kind of always, it tends to be the top. And when you go to die cut, you're going to line up, let me get this out now while I have it. You're going to take the largest die, because we're not making a wreath, we're just cutting the outside. That little tab then lines up where that opening is, and that way you're lined up exactly with your branches. I'll show it to you once I get this stamped, and then we'll die cut it out. Okay, so we're just going to ink this up. Don't go too crazy, because you don't want to get all this excess ink, you know, on your block. So that's the early espresso that I did. And then we are going to, this is just on crumb cake, so I'm just going to stamp this right in the center, because we're just going to die cut it. I just make sure I've got even pressure going all the way around. And so there is your wreath. And then before I die cut it, I am going to stamp my trees. And these are also from the Encircled in Nature. And I got to take this off because I need this big block for my duck. Okay, so then we're going to take Mossy Meadow. So knowing that this was kind of my top, when I go to ink up my trees, so these are, they're going to kind of come in at a, they could go right inside that circle. So I'm going to do that Mossy Meadow again. And then we're just going to line this up. And then I like to lift up, shift it a little bit, and stamp again. And that's just to kind of give it a little bit of dimension. So you kind of got that shadowing a little bit in there. So that's just stamp on and then repeat without re-inking. Stamp. Okay, so that is that one. Okay, and next up we are going to die cut this out. I think, I do need to do my other little stamping here. So we're going to use, not that color, I need the crumb cake again. From the Feathered Friends, I'm going to do crumb cake and the new peach pie, which is in color. That's going to be for my son. And then I'm going to use the little 3 flying ducks. I'm just going to stamp that in crumb cake, so on crumb cake. So we're going to do my sun first. And this sun is actually from a retired set. It was at Paradise Palms. I was like looking through all my stamps. I'm like, I need a circle stamp for a sun. And this is like the only one I could find. You can always take like a sponge dauber too if you wanted. All right, so that's the peach pie stamped on there. So it's a nice peachy color. Quite a bit lighter than your pumpkin pie. And then my 3 little ducks, we're just going to stamp this in crumb cake, and they're just going to be flying over the sun. like so. And now we can go ahead and die cut this out. And I'll show you how I measured or aligned it to that die. Okay, so like I said, there is this tab on the die, and that tab needs to be lined up right over where that opening is on the stamped image. So then I just align that over the tab, and then I just make sure that all of my little branches then are aligned with the die. And then once I'm happy with where it's positioned, of course I'm at a bad angle here. Okay, then I just take some temporary, just low tack tape. So I'm gonna die cut this off screen really quick. All right, so then that, there it is. Perfect. And then what I had done previously was I die cut another one out of the same piece of cardstock, and then I ran it through the, I'm just trying to find it here. Oh, I can't find it, but I ran it through the timber embossing folder. So it gives it that little wood grain. I just don't know where I put it. All right, so then what I'm going to do is, and the only reason I do this is just to give it a little bit of stability. And now I just need to see, I just have to align them here. So I'm looking for, I think it needs to go that way. Looking for more of the one that doesn't have as many nubs in it is what I'm looking at. I think it does need to go this way. There we go. So then it's aligned. So what I was looking for is that spacing here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put adhesive on the back of this. And this is totally optional. I just like, because this is only going to be adhered partially onto that flap, and so I want this to have a little bit more stability. So then it's a little bit thicker. All right, so that is this piece, and then we're going to glue our trees on. So these I die cut. This is from that Encircled in Nature as well, and I did 2 of them. Die cut both of them in Old Olive, and then I glued them together. And again, it was just to give it a little bit more stability because it's overhanging a little bit, and I just wanted it to have a little bit more support. So I'm only going to put glue on this top part of these trees, and you do need to use like a liquid glue for these super delicate dies, or use a adhesive sheet and then make it a sticker basically. Okay, so there's that. And like I said, this is just going to get glued on. And I just use a block sometimes just to press those down. All right, so now we only want this circle attached to this flap. So my little cheater way of doing this, so that I know that I'm not getting my adhesive over too far, is I put it on here where I want it, and I hold it in place, and then I'm just going to flip it around. I'm going to make a little pencil mark there and a little pencil mark here, and then that way I know my adhesive can only go in this section. And I'm going to use tear and tape for this. just because I want it to be secure. And then you can go ahead and erase those pencil lines. All right, so then that will get attached onto our flap. Then I just do a spot check, looks good. All right, so that's that part. Now all we have to do is just add our duck, the mallard. I love them. Yeah, usually I'm not a bird. I'm not like cutesy birds. But I do kind of like the owls and the ducks, of course, are I do like them. So for this one, I'm going to stamp him first in crumb cake. Now, if you notice, I did add some color. So I'm going to show you my little cheater way of doing this. So I'm just going to ink them all up in crumb cake. I then am going to take a Q-tip, and I'm going to wipe away for his head and his beak. I'm going to wipe away some of that color because I'm going to take a marker and add my green. And I think I did Mossy Meadow. So I'm going to do Mossy Meadow, and I'm using the Stampin' Right markers. You cannot use your Stampin' Blends on these because it will stain. It just doesn't work as well. So I'm going to take the Mossy Meadow, and I'm just coloring his head, so it's the green. And then I'm going to take the crushed curry and color his bill. I'm going to do a little bit of the crushed curry and then just a little bit of pumpkin pie on the edges there. And then for his chest, I wanted it a little bit darker than the crumb cake. So I'm going to take, again, my Q-tip, and I'm just going to dab a little bit. I'm not taking all of it off. And then I'm going to use pecan pie. And I'm just making little brush strokes so it kind of looks like feathers. So I'm kind of still giving it that texture. And then his neck, the little band, I just leave that. That'll still be the crumb cake. And then because this ink has been sitting here a little bit, I'm just going to take it and huff on it. And then I'll stamp, and I'm using onto Very Vanilla cardstock. Oh, I forgot to do the blue on his feathers. Shoot. Okay, we'll just draw those in. All right, I forgot to do that. So I took the blueberry bushel, and I was going to do it on his, let's see here. These are, I wonder if that'll be too dark. We'll just do a little bit of coloring. Just a little bit. Yeah, I should have done that on the stamp. All right, and then because his eyeball sometimes gets a little lost, I just take the fine tip of the marker and I just draw his eyeball back in. So there's how you can get some of that color using your stamp pad plus your markers together. So this, you do have to fussy cut. There is no die. So I'm just going to real quick fussy cut this out. So when you're fussy cutting, you want the scissors to kind of act more as a guide, and then you're just rotating the paper around and not making the blade, you know, not doing all of this. So, and then I'm keeping my blade kind of at an angle to the cardstock, and then that way I'm just kind of rotating my left hand with the holding the cardstock around, and that kind of helps so you're not getting your torn and frayed cardstock. And then working with a smaller piece of paper, it kind of helps a little bit too when you're doing the fussy cutting. So trim your paper down around the image that you're cutting out, and that'll help with the fussy cutting. And finding a good pair of scissors that works. Like, I have arthritis, so a lot of times some of these scissors, I just don't like how they feel in my hand, but these are pretty tiny ones, and they have a really sharp blade on it too. So now there's our little duck all cut out, and then I'm going to pop him up with some dimensionals, and then he will get attached to the card, and we'll move on to the next gatefold variation of the double. I've got a combination of mini and big ones here. Okay. All those off. All right, and then I'll just have the duck flying. So where that opening was there, I'm going to place his wing. I probably could have moved my other ducks over a little bit, but that's okay. There we go. All right, so there is the first one, your standard double gatefold, or double gatefold. All right, so now let's move on to our other variations of this one. So we'll put these over here so I don't lose them. We're going to do the diamond one next, which is, where did my sample go? Oh, here. We're going to do this one next, so the diamond one. I just need to grab my other stamps and paper. So I'm going to change up my fold, or my, it's not going to be the blue. I'm going to use the petal pink this time. So this is the diamond gatefold. And to save on time, I did kind of already die cut some of this out already and colored. All right, so this one, these are all just my, yep. This is kind of just showing you what you're doing. So I'm taking, so again, you want that designer series paper that has a good front and back because you are going to see both of them. So again, this one is a 5.5 by 12. So now we're not cutting off, we're using that full half a sheet of designer series paper. So 5.5 by 12. And this time we just score at 2, 4, 8, and 10. And then basically you are going to measure down 2 3/4 on each side. And then you're going to cut those off. And then they get attached to the front panels. So depending on how far down you measure to make this cut is going to determine the size of your diamond. So some of them can be more like, like a square, but I did the larger one so it looked like the whole diamond was taking up that whole front panel. So you can really play around with those measurements of how far down you're measuring on it. But we're going to go ahead and get this scored right now. So I just said we are going to do 2, 4, 8, and 10. And this was at 5.5 by 12. Oops. Oh, there we go. Still a little rocky. All right, so we've got, and I'm having it open up. Yeah, this will be my inside. So I want to score on this side. So we're going to do 2, 4, 8, and 10. Then I want to measure down 2 3/4. So here's my 2. And I'm going to go right, let's see here, there's 2.5. This is going to be my 2 3/4, and I'm just going to make a tick mark, because what you're going to do is you are going to, where that 2 3/4 is, you will then cut up to this first score line on your paper trimmer. So right now we're just making that 2 3/4 inch mark. And then I flip my paper over and I do the same thing. I'm going to go down 2 3/4 and make a mark. And then you will need your paper trimmer. Let's use this one, it's smaller. So I'm going to cut off my left one first. So here is where you're going to take, I know it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but I can see my pencil mark is right here. And then my first score line, just kind of show it to you here. That way it'll pop up a little bit better on the camera. This score line has to be in your cutting groove of your paper trimmer. And then where, oh, there it is. Okay, so now there's my pencil mark is here in my cutting groove, and then my first score line is there. So then this is what is going to be cut off. I just want to make sure I'm okay. First score line. Yeah, maybe pick paper that you could see better. On the pattern. Okay, there's the one. All right, so that comes off. Don't discard it. Okay, remember how I marked the other side? Same thing. Now this one you'll be able to see a little bit better. So there's my score line. So that needs to be in the groove of the paper cutter. And then there's my tick mark. And then we're going to cut this off. Oops, I shifted. Yeah, this, when I go to do my videos, my camera mount thing is like right in my face when I'm trying to look overhead and do my cutting. Okay, got off a little bit there. We'll just trim it with some scissors here. Hold on. It's because I shifted a little bit when I was trying to see. Okay. All right, so those are cut off. Now we're going to do our folding. I'm going to erase my little pencil lines so I don't see those. Okay, so this was going to be my outside. Yeah, so this is my inside. So I'm going to take again the second score line over. I'm going to bring in as a valley fold, and then this one I'm going to fold back as a mountain fold. So I'm getting my angle there, and then same thing, I'm going to go to that second score line, bring it in as a valley fold, and then the first score line will fold back. So now it looks like a house or like an arrow. So now these pieces that we cut off, so this one was from up here. Now that one, here, I'll show this here, sorry. So this is what we cut off. Now this one gets turned around and goes to the opposite corner. And then this one that we cut off, or from the other side, then comes down here. And now we've got our diamond. So you just need to glue these on. And then I always just make sure I kind of start with this, the right angle. I line that up so it's right on the edge. Oops. And then make sure it's flush at the bottom. And that our piece is going straight up. Okay. Okay, so there's the one, and then the same thing. This one's going to come over here. And again, this is just going to be attached to that front flap. And that's how you get your diamond. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, then for my pieces, so on this one, what I did is I did the white, and I did a little bit of stamping with the pond, and then I did, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the wrong one. Sorry, this one. Wrong card, Linda. I'm going to change this one up a little bit. So for my inside piece, this is going to be, this was 4 by 5 1/4. And what was I going to do on the inside of this one? I can't remember. I may just leave it blank. Stamp pine trees in Lost Lagoon. I had a vision. I'm just trying to remember what it was. I tell ya. Okay, so this one I've already die cut, or I'm not die cut them, but I have stamped up the bird. And on this one I did pecan pie. And how I did that other one, I took, while the stamp was still inked with the pecan pie, I took a marker and I did Misty Moonlight, and then I did pumpkin pie on the bill. You know, I wiped off those ink, and then I did the marker on top of it. And then I just fussy cut it. So on this one, we're just going to put dimensionals on the back. And I think what I was going to do was I was going to stamp on... Yeah, stamp pine trees in Lost Lagoon. Look at me. I left notes for myself just to remember what I was doing. Oh, Linda. Okay, so that'll be these pine trees from Quiet Reflection. All right, so we'll set that aside for now. Let's get our... pine tree. So again, this was that Thoughtful Journey Designer Series paper. I'm going to use this side, and then I had die cut the deckled circle, and I did another piece because this is Designer Series paper. I did another piece with Petal Pink. I was just trying to see if these would be aligned, because now I should have just left my paper clip where it was, because I had die cut both of these together, but it doesn't really matter if it's off a little bit. All right, we're going to go ahead and ink up our pine trees. So I'm going to have my bird kind of going this way, I think. And then I'll have my pine trees over here. So we're going to do these in Lost Lagoon. Oh, you know what? I do need my... Need a little bit of cushion when I do my photopolymer. So I'm just going to stamp the trees. And again, I like to stamp again, kind of shift it, just to give it that dimension. So you just got a little bit of the trees in the background. So you can stamp on that Designer Series paper. You don't always have to just stamp on cardstock. And then I think this one, I'm wondering, that's kind of free flying that way. Maybe I will do I might do my little birds in the background. So I might grab that pecan pie. She needs friends to fly with, so we'll throw in. We'll throw in her friends. We have so many ducks and wild turkey in our neighborhood. They're always, well, our neighbor feeds them, so there's always tons and tons of wildlife when we go on our walks with our little Miss Ezera, the Greyhound. Okay, let's see here. So again, I'm just putting this cardstock behind, just as added support. I was going to see if I could maybe match it up, but yeah, it's not going to happen. Let it be. All right, and then we'll have the female duck, mama duck. Should we popped up with a dimensional? All right, so on this one, same thing. You're only going to be attaching half of it on here. So again, I kind of like to make sure I'm centered, and then I just make a little mark. Now this one, it doesn't matter because this whole half can be glued down, but at least I know where my halfway point is. And again, I like to use the Terran tape on these just to make sure that the circle piece doesn't fall off. And pick tool. Remove the backing using your pick tool. And we'll just remove that eraser or the pencil line. Okay, so then that is then centered. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of gems, and I think, let's see here. Oh, I thought I had those out. Maybe oh, here they are. These kind of have that misty moonlight kind of color, so I'm just going to use a couple of these. I'm just putting them here on the little corners. There we go. Yeah, these are the tinsel gems. So they kind of got the green, kind of like a fresh freesia, and then that misty moonlight. It's kind of, this could be a summer splash. It could be a variety of greens on there. All right, and then our inside, I'm going to take the, let's see here, maybe we'll do, I want the pink, because I'm going to do the, oh no, I think, what do I want to do? Do I want, no, that was there. Okay, I think, just looking at what I have for my markers here, I was going to color this one. Let's do, get you a little bit of the misty moonlight and the, maybe we'll do the summer splash. We'll do a variety. We'll see what I got. We're going to start with, maybe that won't work. Yeah, we'll just do these two colors. We'll just do the pink. So we're going to start with the pink. All right, so this is my top. So I'm just going to ink up half of this in the petal pink. And then I'm going to ink up the bottom part with Misty Moonlight. I'm just kind of spot checking how far down I am. Come in a little bit more with my marker. Probably, yeah, I can fill that in, I think. Okay, so you kind of see there's a little spot there that doesn't have much for color. So this is where I'm going to come in with my markers, which I do need to grab. Calypso Coral is what I'm looking for. Let's see. There we go. So it's a little bit darker, and then since I don't have the new In Color Summer Splash, I'm using an old Bermuda Bay, which is a little bit darker, but I'm just kind of filling in this middle section with the marker. You can also do like a little blending brush here. Sometimes I do that too, just to give it a little tap, you know, just to kind of get rid of the brush strokes. So I'll do that when I get this all done here. And then I'm going to go back with this Calypso Coral, and I'm just adding a little bit of that next to the Bermuda Bay. And then I just want to make sure my top part of this is stamped. So I'm just going to go back with my ink pad, the Petal Pink. And I think that all looks good. Okay. And then we'll give it a good huff. And I want to make sure I'm stamping the correct way. All right, and this is going to be on white cardstock. And on the inside of this one, your cardstock does need to be 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So it's just a little bit narrower. It's not your normal 4 by 5 1/4. There we go. All right, so that'll go then on the inside. So there's another way, you know, kind of showing you how you could just ink up with a light colored ink pad and then do add your markers, your Stampin' Write markers, to add some color to it. All right, and then I'm going to leave that one blank because I'm not quite sure what I want to do for a saying. So, all right, so there is the diamond gatefold. So now we're going to take and do another version of the diamond gatefold, which I'm calling the Zigzag gatefold. There's 2 ways of doing that. So this one, we're going to start with this one first. Again, you're going to need your designer series paper. And this one again needs to be the 5 1/2, oops, by 12. So again, you're going to use that half a sheet of paper. And then your inside cardstock, again, is going to be a little bit narrower. So it's that 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. We're going to do those same measurings, 2, 4, 8, 10. But now instead of going down 2 3/4, we're going to go down farther and go measure down to 4 inches. So we're going to do that next. And on this paper, probably, let's see, do I want because I'm doing this on the inside. Yeah, so I'm going to be scoring on this side because that was going to be my, so when you look at it, you want to think, what is my inside paper? And that's the side you're going to score on. So I think I'm going to do this as my inside, and then this then comes out like that. Okay, so we're going to score it going this way. All right, so we got 2, 4, 8, and 10. I know, a little bit of a longer video today, but oh, there's just so many things I wanted to show you guys. All right, and I've lost my scoring tool. It's somewhere. Way too many things on my desk right now. All right, so this is going to be on the inside. So again, we're going to score at 2, 4, 8, and 10. We are going to make a mark, on, this is going to be really hard to see on this paper. Where did my pencil go? Here it is. We're going to make a mark at 4 inches. So we're going to go down to 4 and make a mark. And then now you are going to, you're going to take this cut, and remember on the first one we cut to the first score line. You are going to cut up to the second score line. So this entire piece is going to get cut off. Okay, so we're going to cut from here all the way up to here. And I'm just going to make a mark there so I can see it a little bit better. So there's the 4, and then the same thing, I just flip it over because I've only got the ruler on this side. I just want to make sure I'm okay. So this is the one I cut. Okay, then I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to make that 4-inch mark. And again, you're going to be cutting up to that 4 inch, so that whole half part of this is going to be cut off. All right, so now I'm just going to fold these in just so you guys can see. So again, this is that, here's your first score line, this is the second score line. I just want to make sure I got that nice great. And then this comes back still. Just doing these just so you can see. Oops, I might have been off a little bit on my scoring. So you can see the creases a little bit better when I put it in the paper trimmer to cut. And then that is the mountain fold, or I'm sorry, the valley fold, and then this one comes back as your mountain fold. Okay. So we've got our little 4-inch mark there. We are going to cut up to that second score line, which was our, basically that 4-inch mark. And let's see here. Okay, so I've got my tick mark. So here's my second score line. So here's 1, here's 2. My tick mark is over here, so I need to get that in my paper trimmer where it's going to cut. And then I need to rotate this so that this score line is right there in the cutting groove. So that's, like I said, here's the first one. I'm going to that second score line. And then this is at my tick mark, which was at the 4. Everything looks good. This is getting cut off. We're just going to set that aside. Okay, so now there's your 1/2. Now my other one was right here. I'm flipping it over so you can kind of see a little bit better. We're now going to cut from here up to that second score line. So I've got my tick mark. And then, let's see here. Here's my second score line. And I made that little tick mark there. So second score line. Oh, I gotta make a little bit of room here so I can rotate my paper. And then my 4-inch tick mark. So we've got one here and my tick mark down here. All right. So there's the other half. I guess this is going to be my inside. So now we've got, that's what it would look like if you don't add these pieces on. Okay, so I mean that would be totally fine, but we are going to add these pieces. So the one that we cut off, I think it was off this side, yeah, the one that we did off of here, we're going to turn this over. Oh, wait. Nope, I got to flip it. So this is one, this is going to go on the left, this one then goes on the right. There's a method to my madness, truly. Okay, so because you have to have them go opposite. So now we're just going to fold on here just to make this a little bit easier. Okay, so what I do is I attach the bigger part I put glue on this one first before I do this one, because you're going to be going over this score line. And I just found that it was a little bit easier if you glued just the 1/2 down first and then do the other one. And when you do this, you want to make sure you're not, because you've got to bring this in, you're going to be adhering this just so that it's kind of right up against that score line, but not going over it. So again, I'm going to add some liquid glue just on the one part of this, the larger panel. Okay, so now we're going to do so that this is flush at the end, and then this edge is right close to the score line, but not on top of it. Okay, now, so how this comes in, so this is why I don't have glue on this yet, because now here, I keep this closed, then I bring this over, and then that's when I'll add the glue. So that way you've got that, because it's wrapping over that corner. So now we'll just add glue on the smaller triangle, and then just bring it over and glue it down. So now there you've kind of got your little zigzag. So now we're going to do the same thing. So again, this was the corner that was on this side. We took it, we're flipping it over, and we're putting it on the opposite side of the card. So again, we're going to glue the larger panel down first, so the larger piece. So we're going to put the glue on the back of this one only. And you want to make sure you're right up against the edge of the bottom of the card and right up against that score line, but not on top of it. And then I close it. And then this is where this one, I need to kind of manually force this over a little bit because my score line is a little off, just a titch. But I'm going to manually force it into place. All right, and then I can go ahead and glue this one down. And there is the zigzag, the gatefold. All right, and our inside cardstock for this one. Now let's see here. Where did my pieces go? Oh, here. Here I was going to do the mama and the papa, and then I was going to do, yeah, so this was at 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And this is the new basic beige cardstock, which kind of coordinates nice with this. And on here, I'm going to do my pond. So we're going to be doing, that one I didn't color it, but I do want to color it on this one. So what I did first is I actually went in and did this all in, let's see, we'll do it all in the basic beige. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy Q-tip and I'm going to remove ink from the grass, little grass pieces, as well as most of the water. I'm just kind of dabbing around. Now what I should have done is I should have just stamped it in the blue and then removed the, but it is what it is. All right, then I'm going to take my markers. And when you do the markers, again, you want to use the brush tip and you're kind of using the marker more lying this way, not this way, but this way when you're coloring. I just want to make sure I'm not coloring my rocks blue because I still want those to be the stone colored, the basic beige. And this is the Misty Moonlight marker that I'm using. And I'll probably add a little bit of another blue here just to add some dimension. This is a retired, I think this was like, oh yeah, Seaside Spray. This is an old retired color. But any blue would do. This is, I just grabbed one. Just to give it a little bit of dimension. Okay. And our grass, I'm going to do the lemon lime twist. My grass. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of a darker green. You could use, if you have, I don't have all the new in colors yet, but this is a retired Emerald Envy, but you could use the new Shy Shamrock is what I really wanted, but I didn't have it. Doesn't have it yet. So, okay, let me just fill this in just to make sure. Okay, and we'll give it a little bit of a huff. Oops, I forgot some grass. Got some grass. I know I don't always use my Stampin' Right markers a lot. I always tend to go for my blends, but like I said, you can't use your blends on this technique. Okay, we'll give it a huff. Make sure your breath is minty fresh. And then we'll stamp it. And then that way you've got all your multiple colors on the one stamp. Clean that off. All right, and then this can go ahead and be attached to our inside of our card. Oops. Whoa. Oh, and Linda, I got ink on me. All right, so you need your handy dandy sand eraser. Oh, because I had ink on my thing, that's why. Oh, the struggle is real. See, you can fix it. Just take your little sand eraser. And I followed up with my adhesive remover. I'll probably just find something to stamp on there and cover it up. It can be fixed. You may fix that later. Okay, so on here, because you do see the little triangle there, I'm going to go ahead and do my birds. And I'm thinking, do I want to do, yeah, I think I will do that. I'm just going to do gray granite. So it's a little bit darker than the basic beige. So this is where I keep this one closed. And this is where you can, if you wanted to do a saying, you can do a saying up here, but I'm just going to do my birds flying across. And that's in the gray granite. And then I may do a series of them just to cover up my boo-boo. I just have some scratch paper here just so that I'm not stamping on my designer series paper. Do that. That way it's covering up my boo-boos. See, you can always fix it. There we go. Perfect. Okay. All right, so that's that fold. And then to save on time, I'll finish decorating this one. But what I will do, same as what I did here, is I did the ducks. I stamped them in the ink pad, and I'll probably do gray granite. And then I did the same thing with the markers and just colored, you know, wiped away the ink, and then I just colored in the heads, in the bills, and then added a little bit of blue, and then whatever you want for your saying. So, and then that will be attached then, and I still do, you know, it's only attached on that one panel. So you just put a little bit of adhesive here, and then that way when it opens up, it's only attached. So I will go ahead and finish that one off screen and show you, but it'll be similar to this one. So again, see how that is just on there halfway. Okay. All right. So then the other version of that zigzag was this one. So now instead of cutting down to the 4 inches, we are going to measure down 2 3/4 on this one. So this one is still going to be the 5.5 by 12. And we're still doing those same score lines, 2, 4, 8, and 10. So go ahead and do that really quick. And since this is the side I want, what do I want on the outside? I think I still want this to be on the inside. So I'm going to score on the side, on the inside part. So we'll do our 2, 4, 8, and 10. 2, 4, 8, and 10. And then again, we're, instead of measuring down to the 4, we're going to measure down to 2 3/4 and make a mark. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing, 2 3/4 and make a mark. And then we are still going to cut up to that second score line. Or wait, yes, we're still cutting up to that second score line. All right, so I'm just gonna fold on this so that you can kind of see a little bit better. So again, this is that second score line. We're bringing that one in, and then we fold this back to make the gatefold. And same thing, we're gonna fold on the second score line, and then fold this other one back. So this just looks like our normal gatefold card. And then where I made that mark, the 2 3/4, which is, here it is. Here's my 2 3/4. We are then going to cut up from here to that second score line. So all of that will come off again. Second score line, and then our 2 3/4 inch, so that's in the cutting groove, and my score line. Oh, I gotta pick lighter paper next time. I gotta move this down so I can see. Okay, so tick mark, score line. Just running out of room on my desk. I apologize. To get this into screen. Okay, tick mark, score line, all in the cutting groove, and then we're gonna cut that off, set that aside, and then we're gonna flip it over. Here's my tick mark here, and we're going to cut up to this second score line. So we'll put the tick mark in there, and then this gets aligned. Let's see, where is it? Oh, there it is. So there's that. And that. So I find if I hold on to like where the score line is, I can zoom out a little. Oops, sorry. Go the other way. Sorry. Fat fingers. There we go. Then here is, okay, so we're putting our pencil line is in the cutting groove, and then that second score line, which now is kind of hard to see where that was. Let me just make this crease a little bit better so I can see it. Okay, so that's in the cutting groove. My pencil line is in the cutting groove. Dun, dun, dun. All right, and then we'll cut that off. Keep that piece. All right, so this was our inside. Okay, so the two pieces we cut off, again, we are going to be, like we did the other one, you're going to attach these then on the inside, and then that way it comes out on this way. So we're going to take and just put glue on the bigger part first. And then we're going to attach it so it's flush on the edge, and then it's right up against that score line. And then I'll close this, and now I'm going to put my adhesive on this smaller piece. And then we'll just bring this over, and if you need to manipulate the fold a little bit, use your bone folder. And now you've got that zigzag look again. And then this one, same thing. So now it was folding this way, fold it back. And then we're going to put adhesive on the bigger part. And then that's getting attached so that you're right up against that score line and you're flush with the bottom of the paper. And then again, I close this. And then that smaller tab, now we're going to go ahead and put adhesive on that. And then I just want to make sure my folds are aligned. Okay, so now this little piece, again, I just need to force it over just a little bit. And then I'll bring my bone folder in just to give that a good crease. And then there is the other zigzag version, like we did here. So, oh no, this is a different one. Oh, I did that wrong. Oh no, that's a different, it's just a different, oh, that's right. It's doing it the different, narrower. This is the narrow way and this was the wider way because we did it down to the 2 3/4. All right, and then I will go ahead and decorate this one off screen. Again, I was going to kind of bring in my duck again and put that in the center. And since this is wider now, I may cut a little bit bigger piece. But anyway, I will finish decorating those other ones, and I'll add pictures to them at the end of this video for you. But that, again, is some versions of how to do the double gatefold using your designer series paper. And then stay tuned. I will have other gatefold versions coming probably next weekend. I'll work on my next one. I think the one I'm going to be doing, it is another, I haven't decorated yet, but it's another gatefold that comes in like this way and then it pops out. I've heard this one kind of called like the M, like an M gatefold, or I don't know, marvelous something. But anyway, this is another one, kind of like another center pop out gatefold. So that'll be my next series, or my next one that I'll be doing. So anyway, thanks again. I know it was a little bit longer video this time around, but I do appreciate you stopping by, visiting my channel. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will stamp again with you soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.